Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of the Dickie and Donny Show presented by Business on Purpose. Today we are in season 3, episode 47.
47. Dickie, who's the best professional athlete to ever wear number 47? Ready, go.
I couldn't tell you a single person in any sport that wore number 47.
Really?
No,
My mind
couldn't.
immediately goes to the Denver Broncos linebacker, John Lynch. I
John
think his name
Lynch,
was John
great one.
Lynch.
I have no idea who that
Um,
is.
Lynch, I think his last name was Lynch. He was a linebacker. He was a freak. Who else is 47's a hard one,
That is a hard one.
but you're going to have to think linebackers or like fullbacks. And
Right.
fullback, I don't know if Mike Allstott was 40,
What was Alvin Kamara?
41.
Okay, well, I was close on the shape.
You were pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I think it's
That's
going to
the
be
one
linebackers
person I've
across the
ever
board.
heard. It's like one football player I know.
Alvin Kamara.
I don't know. I feel like I played that guy in fantasy like 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, they just picked up one of my boys from Clemson and the Jags. Saints did to join Kamara.
Did they?
ETN. Travis
Oh,
Etienne.
yeah. Big pick. Big pick.
What are we talking
40,
about today?
47, which means we're 5 weeks away from our podcast anniversary because roughly recording once a week. And I believe we started about this time last year, right?
I think it was either in Q1 or Q2 because I know it was a 12-week plan for I know it was for me to like start a repetitive streak of content that kind of aligned with each other, whatever that would be. And then I think when sharing that with our team, subtle plug to share your 12-week plans and team meetings, I think you were like, hey, what if we did something together? And hence literally where this all started. So
Yeah. The Dickie and Donnie Do Business Show. And now we're on TikTok and we're posting every now and then.
did you
I
get my
almost
recent one?
I did. We posted it on a Taco Tuesday. I
Taco
almost went live
Tuesday.
on Friday, and I actually was going to go
Should have.
live. I was going to call it Free Coaching Friday, and I got caught up in some other work. But I was just going to go on live and say, "Talk about your business. Let me give you some direction, and let me hear what you're struggling with."
Yeah, that'd be
So,
great, especially if we get more than one person watching that asks questions. That'd be awesome.
so we'll see. Maybe this Friday. It won't be this Friday, but one of these Fridays, I'm gonna go Free Coaching Friday, and
Heck
just
yeah,
go
I love
live
it.
for an hour and riff. So.
I love
Yeah,
it.
1 year. Yeah, 1 year. What are you most surprised at in our year of podcasting?
I'm
What
gonna
are you
take my
most
headphones
surprised at?
out because it keeps glitching. This is why I don't use headphones at home. There's something about this space that doesn't allow Bluetooth to work so well.
What has surprised you, or what are you pleasantly surprised by in our year?
I think what surprised me is I feel like we've gotten worse at these. Um,
Really?
no, I think it's good. I think we have a brand, like a little bit of one, which is good. I think I've really enjoyed getting to do it with you because I think I've had parts of my coaching that are sharpened just watching you and listening to you ask questions. I'm like, ooh, like my brain would not have went to that, tangent, but you like because of the question, I know what you're thinking, and so I just have enjoyed that. I think it's sharpened my craft, and then I've just really enjoyed this. We've gotten to interview a bunch of people, and it's just been fun. It's also kind of funny around the BOP community. Like I I showed up this last week. I visited to Pennsylvania. I got to visit 4 different teams, and I heard multiple times, "Are you the guy from the mug?" Because their leaders don't know me yet, or whatever it is, and they're like, "You're the guy from the mug," and it's just funny. Like I don't know. There's almost a whimsy to it that's fun.
Totally. I met somebody a couple weeks ago, and she said, "I drink out of your mug. I drink out of your face every day." I was like, "Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy."
Yeah. What about you? What's been the biggest? What have you learned? Kind of biggest surprise as we approach a year?
I think I've just really enjoyed jumping into something new and
Mm.
just and talking and having a regular time to connect with you, outside of typical coaching hours, we stay pretty independent. So being face to face with you has been really fun and enjoyed, hearing your process and seeing how you process things have been good.
Man, that's awesome. I'm gonna go back real quick. And I'm gonna go back to where's Dickie and Donnie? Nope.
Right here.
Oh, here we're right here, baby. Team meetings, episode one,
Thanks
11
for joining us
months
for the
ago. Does it tell me the day? April 4th.
April 4th was the release date. I think we were recording a bunch in March, which is great. So today we're talking about valuing a business.
So good.
And one of the
Evaluating or valuating?
Valuing, like a
Finding the
value,
value of.
finding the value of your business. How much is it worth? So 80% of a business owner's net worth statistically is tied up in their business. So it's probably important if you've got a business to know how much equity or value you have in your business. If you want to sell, if you want to have it as an asset at some point. So yeah,
Dickie, I'm gonna stop you there because you just glossed over something that I feel like could be its own episode. The statistic is that 80% of your net worth as an owner.
yeah,
So I'm worth $2 million. 80% of your net worth is wrapped up in your business, and 80% of your business's worth is wrapped up in you as the owner. So there's this 80 kind
oh,
of plays both ways. And like I don't know if it's worth glossing over that because if we have people listening to this, the fear there, and we have and it's been a heartbreaking situation. We have a client of ours, and the owner passed away suddenly, and then probably 6 months, he kind of, his son was running with it. It was very unexpected. His son was running with the business, then his son passed away. Surprise! It's not just a made up story. It's like a real story, and it's real heartfelt, and it's very
yeah,
real. Life and business intersect. This is a real story. We know the names and the faces, and it's heartbreaking. But you think of a business like that, if they want to look at selling on the open market, if 80% of that person's net worth is wrapped up in the business, and then that person passes away or leaves, and then 80% of the business's worth is wrapped up in that one person. Like this business, if you look at it that way, goes down to what is at very most, you're worth 20% of what you were. Like nothing you could do about it. You could have the same projects and all that. It's crazy how much of this is tied to the owner. Crazy
sure.
how much.
And that's the goal of our coaching is to get that dependency out of the
Right.
business
That's
where
right.
the business runs on its by itself. It stands alone
Yeah.
without it says so yeah, it's when I work with a lot of family offices or people looking to buy and sell businesses, we have to look at that key leader dependency and the
Hmm.
key leader the need to have that person there. And if there's a significant investment of time and energy and knowledge in that owner, it devalues the business
Yeah.
because it requires that person to be there in order
Yeah.
for it to operate.
Think of if you were going to buy a car and they're like, well, I'm the only person that can drive it, but you're going to buy it from me. You'd be like, well, that it's worth so much less to me because I need you to come with it. And if you're buying a business on the open market, you don't want it to be
Yeah.
wrapped up in one like, oh, well, then I guess I have to pay you 150 grand a year to stay, or, there's all these stipulations. So for an owner to be able to say, this is runnable without me, it increases that value. I don't want to say
Mhm.
tenfold and have someone like quote me on that, but it's such a higher value, multiple,
We have
higher than
we
multiple.
have some numbers we could run through. Now, I have a question for you. If I gave you the option to have a normal mid-size regular car with a driver or a fancy car but no driver, which one would you take? Like you can have like a Toyota Camry or a Honda Accord or a maybe even a Lincoln. Call it a Lincoln. You got the upgraded Ford. You could drive you have a regular car, but you get a full-time driver, or you could have a Mac Daddy car, but you got to drive it. Which one would you take? I think I've stumped him.
Donnie's speechless for the first time in his existence as a human. Let me think this out loud real quick. I love to drive. I love the act of driving. So that immediately says, well, why wouldn't I get the nicer car and get to do what I want? But like I'm thinking work related, the amount of more I could do like the Lincoln lawyer, I could do so much more work if someone was driving me around because I could do more things because right now I'd have to stop work if especially if it's I'd have to stop work to drive. Not
Mhm.
always, sometimes phone call, but I wouldn't have to do that with the driver. But I'd also be taking a spot for my kids. And I'll tell you this, I do not want to be in the back of my car with my kids. So I think there's a like on the weekends there if we've had a hard morning, I'll throw the kids in the car because it traps them, and then we just go for a drive with the windows down, listen to music. They love it. It's a huge break for me because it's restful. So I
You
would
can still
say,
drive. You can still, I'm just saying, like, you would have the option to have a full-time driver whenever you wanted it. You just couldn't
could
have
I
a
do
full.
an SUV even if it's not a high class SUV?
Sure.
Could I do a
Like Ford
truck?
Explorer?
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Give me a Ford Expedition, but like or a base model, even whatever, right? Doesn't even have to be that Honda Pilot, and just nothing against Honda Pilots out there. What is the Honda Element? Hashtag the country builder. I'd take a Honda Element with a driver. If I had the ability to drive it on my own, but also the ability to be driven around, I'd probably do that. I don't need all the bells and whistles. I appreciate them, but I don't need them. So I'd probably do that. That's an interesting question. What would you choose?
I go back and forth on this one, and I ask a lot of people this question, surprisingly. I
Yeah,
love to
that is
drive and I
surprising.
love cars, but there's something freeing about just having someone kind of drive for you. And I get going, I want to get somewhere. Sometimes I get too antsy and I'm like, I just need to chill out and ride with somebody. But
And
it's painful for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, can we go any faster?
it's an automatic friend. Like
True.
you probably
Yeah.
don't think of it that way in the way you look at life. For me, I'm like, that's a friend that has to work and be with me. And I like that.
You could hire your friend. You could hire a buddy to run that for you.
Oh, I got buddies right now working in nonprofits that would jump at 50 grand a year to drive a car. They would jump. Uh,
Yeah.
okay. Dickie, when we look at valuing a business, right? So the theory here, not the theory, the thought is you're a business owner and what you have is an entity to sell. Whether you want it to or not, it is technically sellable no matter what, because there's people on the open market that are looking to buy businesses, whatever reason, whatever the industry, right? Whatever it is. Someone could, in theory, buy the Dickie and Donny show to buy the name. Like we're not, good luck. It's really expensive.
Talk about key leader
Yeah.
dependency.
We have turned down an offer of 500 grand for this show. So
We
if you
did.
want it,
We just couldn't take it.
no, wasn't worth it. But there are really three factors that when we look at, and this is all comes from the certified exit planning advisory that our owner Scott has, and then we've been cross trained. So there's really three things you look at, and there are more. But when you just a lot of our people really want to know what am I worth if I was to sell today? Because in that process, we start to identify some gaps of where we can fine tune things for a year down the road. That like it's helpful to know what we're worth today. So there's three things we look at. I'll run through them and then I want to piece them together a little bit. So the first one is you have to know your EBITDA. EBITDA
Mhm.
stands for earnings before interest, tax, debt, and appreciation.
Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Amortization, not
There you go.
appreciation.
Yeah.
So that number, we'll break that down a little bit, but you have to know your EBITDA. That's the starting point.
And I
So
always find it funny when people call it EBITDA. They're like, what's the
EBITDA,
EBITDA? And I'm like, that's the way to say it, I guess, but EBITDA sounds easier to me.
I
But
like EBITDA.
yeah,
The other one is whatever industry you're
EBITDA.
in,
Yep.
there's an industry multiple. The industry multiple you have no say over. It's an industry multiple. So you're in masonry work. Masonry has a multiple. Call that multiple 3 to 6. Call that multiple 4.7. You don't get to decide the multiple. The industry sets the multiple. So that's something you have to be aware of. And then the last one is you only qualify on the open market, people only see you worth so much based on that multiple. You have the perfect business and it's a 4.7 multiple, you're worth 4.7 times your EBITDA. So to wrap that all together, but you're not perfect. You might be great. You're still nowhere near perfect. I think one of the highest valuations I ever got was 51%. Like it was,
Mm,
and that's super high. So you think of someone with a 3 multiple, they're only getting 1.5 because they're only worth 51% of the multiple jump. So we'll break that all down. But those are the three things. If you really want a rough valuation of your business, you need to know your EBITDA. We'll go through that. You need to know the multiple that your industry holds. We'll go through that. And then you need to know how much of that multiple you generally qualify for. And we look at that in three lenses, which we'll go through. So
yeah.
that's how we do it. So, Dickie, can you break down EBITDA for us roughly? EBITDA?
Yeah. So the basic idea is how much does the business generate in a year? So how much money can I expect to cash flow during the year? You take out all of your owner incentives and values. So, different owners can write down maybe car costs or other things they get written down. You pull all that out and
Yep.
say, generally, how much does the business produce in profit per year that
Because
can,
right. Because if I'm an owner, I may not choose to have the same car. I may not choose to pay my mortgage for my house in Florida out of the business. So you recast all of that back, right? Because
that's
the
right.
new owner may choose to do things differently.
So either EBITDA or it's SDE, seller's discretionary earnings, is also used in a smaller business context,
Yeah.
depending on, but usually EBITDA is the number. So just how much, if you pay $10 million for a business, generally you want to see one, two, 2 million bucks, $3 million, somewhere in there. You're looking for the return on the investment, the return on equity. that you can make. So how much can you expect to make year over year with this investment?
That's right. Now, how does someone go about finding that? Do they pull all these dashboards and they go add it in? Is this something they can use a CPA for? If I'm a small business owner, I have no idea what my EBITDA would be. What would be a first few steps you'd lead me to do?
Yeah, so you start with profit. You start with how much, what is my gross profit? What is my net profit? And then you go back and you can do what's called add backs, and you're adding back certain pieces that are benefiting you that you wouldn't, another owner wouldn't be taking out per se. And you really want to, I mean, not juice the number, but you want to make sure it's, yeah, these are legitimate add-ons.
Right. And think about what the word EBITDA is: earnings before interest, before tax, before depreciation, before amortization. So you throw all that back in because, again, they may choose to do something totally different with it. So none of that counts. EBITDA most often helps your number, right? I made 250 grand this year in profit. After EBITDA, I might be closer to 500. Like it
Mm.
helps your valuation in that sense. So, okay, that's EBITDA. Dickie, walk us through what do industry multiples look like? What is that? How do we look at that? All those things.
So an industry multiple is going to be a multiple, 1, 2 to maybe 10x of that EBITDA number. So typically general contractors are 1 or 2 times, trades are going to be 2 to 4 times, roofers, plumbers, that kind of thing. And then people that get the higher multiples are going to be tech groups, startups, companies that have a real high, exponential growth trajectory on a profit sense. They're going to get higher multiples. And so if you look at the stock market, like a different high Nvidia or
Mm.
Apple, Amazon, they're getting future earnings, future multiples that are super high multiples of, because they're such growth minded companies. But in small business, it's just what is the general trajectory of that growth? And so the multiple will be higher based on the strength of growth or the strength of potential.
Yeah, and what we're about to talk through is how you qualify for that multiple, and we'll kind of give you three lenses. I've heard it put the industry multiple is basically each industry looks at it a little differently, but about how many years would it take you to make your money back for buying the business? So
That's great. I
if
love
it's
that.
like if my EBITDA scores 500 grand just to make it easy, and I'm a three multiple, right? That means I'd pay three. Generally, the open market would yield three times your multiple, which is three, if you qualify for three times the 500 grand. So you'd be worth roughly 1.5. The seller or the buyer would be thinking, it takes me about 3 years to make my money back unless I grow it even more. So there are industries like the payment processing industry that is not going away. Those multiples are so high. It's like 11 to 12 multiple. So
Mm,
you like think of in that sense, you're a credit card processing company. You're like, well, I don't really have too much. What am I selling? What am I? Well, if you have a book of clients across all these different span, like people will pay a lot of money because those people need to get paid, right?
mm,
Some of
hmm.
your more custom work relies like a custom home or masonry or gutters, right? Whatever it is. Some of those, and I don't want to say can be lower, but just the numbers are lower. So it's not that you're worth less, kind of is, but right, those numbers are a little different because someone has to come in and you don't just like people don't need to buy gutters from you. Like people need to get their credit card swiped, and if it's working, why break it? So there's a lot that goes into it, but that multiple is something you don't have a say over. But what you do have a say over is how you qualify for portions of that multiple. So, Dickie, I'll break these down, and then if you can just give some thoughts kind of in these, that'd be great. So
Yeah, and
we
I'll
look.
I'll add on to the multiple conversation. It's also directly proportional to how hard it is to start the business. So if a lower multiple, I thought you were going that way with the years. A one
Nope.
multiple, it would take 1 year to start the business. A 10 multiple by 10 years. But it's kind of the idea that
Yeah.
the harder it is to start the business, the higher value it's going to be naturally.
Because why would I buy your gutter business for 1.5 when in theory I could just go start it my own? And yeah, it might take me
Exactly.
3 years, but I
What's the
have it.
barrier to entry? Right.
Right. So when we look at qualifying for the multiple, so say the multiple's five, call it easy. My EBITDA is 500 grand, multiple of five for my industry. I have to be the best of the best to get that multiple of my EBITDA. I have to be.
Right.
But you also like you're probably worth one. We kind of say the baseline of that's going to be one. Like for you to have a business, someone might pay you exactly what you made this last year for your business just so that they can have it going forward. Usually if someone's at one multiple, they're not going to be sold. But when we look at a business to identify some of the gaps, these are the three lenses we look at. First, we look at the seller's readiness to sell. So if you're the owner, what's the owner's readiness to sell the business? And we'll go through some of that, but we look at your readiness. If you're not ready to sell the business, nobody wants to buy it from you, right? It'd be like when I've been looking for used cars before, and someone's like, "This one has a rebuilt title." I don't know the ins and outs of that, but I'm not very likely to buy a car that has a rebuilt title, right? And you're like sitting here like, "It's not a big deal," but I'm not a car guy. So, but there's a lot of like that. If I don't have my back end and I know what I'm going to do with my set. Like people don't want to buy something from an owner that's not ready to sell. So there's readiness of the
I,
owner.
I buy cars without engines in them. So, I ain't afraid of anything
That's true.
car
Probably a bad
wise.
example on this show. But you have the owner's
Rebuilt
ready.
title sounds like a discount to me.
Well, it is heavily, hugely. So there's the owner's readiness, and then we have the business's readiness to be sold. That's the entity that you have. Is it ready to be sold? Like, do we have it? Do we have the processes documented? There's a whole list of those things, but is the business ready to be sold? That's a big one of the kind of three. All of these we say are worth 1/3 of your score, by the way. So 100% score would earn you 100% of the multiple your industry yields. So there's the owner's readiness, the business readiness, and then there's just the business attractiveness. And that is like, okay, if there are five gutter companies in our sheds, there are five shed company in our town, are we attractive? Or like, could they go choose that one? And that is a part of the equation too of like, does somebody even want to buy my business because is it attractive? Or have I just been a one man in a truck and sure, I've got everything documented. Sure, my profit's been through the roof, but like, I don't even have a name. Like it's written on a Sharpie on the side of my 98 Tacoma and like nobody wants it. I don't know, whatever it is. But those are the three lenses we look at to tell, okay, we have our EBITDA, we have our multiple. How much of the multiple do we qualify for? We run people through this is what the business valuation is. We run them through three scorecards: owner readiness, business attractiveness. And each of these we get nitty gritty and we grade so many different levels of this to actually get what you qualify for of that multiple.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's always so illuminating for me when I work with businesses on these and I'm asking them questions and they're like, I don't know. I haven't thought about that. And it's usually just a really good, starter analysis to see where are you? How can we help you get ready? So maybe
mhm.
that's personal finances or retirement planning. You got to bring in some wealth managers, you got to bring in attorneys, you got to bring in some people that can speak into contracts and buy sell agreements or partnership agreements. There's a lot of this stuff that, oh yeah, I think we've got that somewhere. But until you start to think, okay, we're going to sell this, then we've got to put it together. So
Right.
the personal readiness is big, and then the business readiness, usually where we see a lot of the challenges, where if the processes aren't clear, if they're not documented, if there's not job roles and accountability to the work, if there's not a real clear business, we just sell hard and we sell roofs and we put them in. But if there's not a documented way to continue that, then you're really dependent on the people that are there.
If you're, and for a lot of people, this is kind of the first time they thought about it because most people don't think they're ever going to be able to sell, which might be true. But if you had $1 million and you were going to go buy a business and you had your like pick of the litter, what would you look for? Like you would want the one that comes in, you have the lowest barrier to entry, super easy. They already have the processes, they already have the systems. This person has over years, and we often don't look at this last year's EBITDA. We kind of look at an average of 3 to 4 years. We the kind of valuations BOP give, we call them general valuations. You can go get a stamped one from, an attorney or something like that, and you could argue those are worth more. I would tell you, you don't need a valuation to be able to sell your business. It's literally the contract agreement is fully up in the air. So we have a lot of our people that have been, people call me out of the blue or private equity called me and wanted to pay. I literally had one of my guys out of Dallas call me one day. He's like, dude, I just got an offer for this. And I was like, whew, we need to do evaluation first. Cause like that sounds great. In my mind, running through it quickly in my head, I'm like, probably worth more than that. So we just need to
Mm.
look at the terms because a lot of people, when they buy, it's not abnormal for the owner to be required to stay for 3 years under X salary. Like that's pretty
Mm.
normal. So I'm buying Dickie and Donny sheds. Hey, Dickie and Donny, I'm going to buy y'all for, we're probably worth 7 or 8 million at this point, but I'm going to buy y'all for this. But you guys are both going to stay for 3 years with me as the owner and y'all's salary is going to be 120 grand, whatever it is. That's a very common stipulation so that the owner knows the employees aren't going to leave right away because they have
Right.
everything looks the same. And there's some different insurance. You can do key leader insurance. You can do like there's some different things you can get. But if you're looking at is my business even sellable? Is it attractive? Like if you had your pick of the litter of your industry in your town, are you the best one? And there's a lot of things because everybody's like, well, I don't have a brand, but I have all this other stuff that it's not just about brand. However, it's probably worth noting this, Dickie, in our scorecard, because we really have a scorecard and we'll ask all these questions and we grade you. You don't get to choose your grade. We'll grade you. A lot of times we'll kind of open book and grade together, but there's a specific line that's drawn on the scorecard because you can get a zero,
I don't
maybe
think you
one.
get a zero. It's
No, I
one
don't
to
know.
six,
So it's a
right?
1 to 6. So
Yeah.
you get a 6.
Oh, you can get a zero. I think you can.
Okay, 0 to 6, whatever it is. 6 is like not
Got
only
it pulled
industry
up right here.
standard, there's never been a better business. Very few people get any fives at all, which is like excellent.
Yeah, no
Some people get
zeros.
some
It's one
threes
to
and fours,
six.
1 to 6. But where's that line drawn and what is that line, Dickie?
So the line is a two. If it's not written down, it can't get higher than
Cannot
a
be
two.
more than a 2.
Yeah, so that's your line there, and you can't get a three. You can't get a exactly three and a half. It's either three or four, above average or
Yeah.
below average. Rarely we're given six is perfect.
I've never given a 6.
So one is no thought, two is not written. So if nothing's written down, you can't get higher than a two. Three, below average. If it's at least written down, you can get a three. Four is above average, five is best in class, and a six is perfect. Each of those get weightings and added to the total assessment here. So this is
Yep.
the business readiness part of it.
So all those factors on the left, and then if you're on Spotify, there's a bunch of factors like your brand issues, company documentation, compliance issues, credibility, and just there's a whole list of those. And we grade you. We start asking questions. That's part of our ability to evaluate a business. We just start asking questions. What about this? What about this? What about this? And if you're like, I haven't even thought of it, one, next. Well,
Totally.
I've actually put a bunch of thought into that. Do you have anything written down? Not really. Okay, two. It cannot be higher than a 2. It's if somebody's like, well, my accountant did give me something on that. Okay. Is it easy to find? No, then it's a 3. Like
So
it's,
I'll run through these. This is on our second scorecard, which is business readiness. I'll just shotgun run through some of these questions so you can hear the types of questions we're asking. Does the brand add value? Does the company have documentation on operating agreements, buy-sell agreements, corporate documents? Are there any compliance issues, taxes, environmental, regulatory? Have you won awards? Are you recognized in your community or in your field? Are there any customer contracts or warranties that have to be maintained, previous work that transfers over to the new owner? You've got employee management issues, you've got expense contracts, trademarks, IP, intellectual property, software. Are there any management systems in place? Do you have systemic proof of marketing documentation, a marketing system to keep your brand moving? Personal expectations, personal knowledge, how much is retained from the owner's head that is still in the head and not documented? Shareholder goals and alignment, revenue drivers. Those are all questions we're asking in these sessions that is just kind of digging and figuring out, where are the challenges? What is a buyer going to see? What is a buyer going to want clarity on? Where are they going to struggle to say, man, I just don't, I'm worried about this thing. If you're buying a house, you see a foundation crack and then you see the water running off and then you like, something's going on there that I don't think I want to dig into. No
yeah,
pun.
that's so good. I want to throw in there, if you're a small business owner listening to this and you heard that or saw that and you're like, man, I've never even thought of those things. Like, there is no shame in that. When I started this, I kind of told you we do this with a lot of our businesses to reveal the gaps. When I say gaps, those are the things I'm talking about. You look down and what is a 1 and a 2? And then our coaching for the next few months is pretty set. It's like, all right, let's go chase after these. You need to schedule a meeting with this person, this person, this person, and this is the deliverable you need to come out of that meeting with. Prep them in advance. Then after you come home, you need to be able to have a written plan. And one of the things is like the owner's readiness. Like, do you have a written plan of what you're going to do with the funds after you sell the business? People are like, well, I know we're going to go live on the beach. This happened to me where he called me, one of my guys, and said, hey, I'm tired. I have 2.5 million in receivables coming in the next 90 days. I just fired everybody. I'm done. Like, you're walking away. He goes, yep, I'm walking away. I called the few jobs we were on. We weren't heavy enough in. I'm walking away. I'm just going to wait another 90 days, take my 2.5 and go. And I was like, hold on, let's do a valuation. Because what if you could sell before you do all
Right.
that? Potentially you could earn more than the 2 point whatever. And we looked and the gaps were way too big for him. He was like, that's going to take me another 3 years and I'm tired. And I was like, but you fill
Wow.
these gaps in, probably actually worth 5 to 6 million was what this one was worth.
Wow.
And he's like, I'd take 3 years back of my life. And okay, but we made the decision. based on the information.
Clarity to ask those questions and get from him. What do you want? No, I
Right.
want to be done now. Okay.
That's right. So
All
I'll
right.
say this, and this is from the Dickie and Donny show. If you want Dickie and Donny to evaluate your business, value your business, we offer these for our clients. They're included. So come be a client. For kind of a one-off valuation, we do them for $5,000, which is cheap compared to most valuations. Dickie and Donny, you can get, if you enter the promo code D&D, help me sell my business, yo. If you send us an email with the subject line D&D, help me sell my business, yo, we will cut you a deal for 4,000 and you'll get Dickie and I in there, which would be great. We'd be happy to do it.
What
So
if we did half off to the first person? I mean, I don't know. I'm more, I want to do it for the fun. I don't really care about the money at this point. I want to just do it for one of our faithful listeners
we
to,
will. Okay. No, here's what we'll do. What episode is this?
this is 47.
Okay, 47% of our normal value. You will get
Beautiful.
it for $2,350. If you are the very first person, that's 47% of our typical value. So you get 53% off.
Awesome.
So
That's fantastic. Way to
please,
think on your feet there. I love that.
you help me. I gave him very minimal. I gave him 20% off, and you just said F it.
And then I was like, you know what? I like doing that. I'm about to do my free coaching Fridays on TikTok. I'm here to give away some stuff here. I'm here to help
Uh,
people. Sounds like fun, like getting to know a new friend and hear their business story and let's do it.
It is. There is super. I think there's what like it's a good sign. I think you and me enjoy what we get to do for a living because I like when I get one of these scheduled or even a workshop. I just enjoy doing what we get to do. I was just in Pennsylvania this last week. Oh, and this is a cool. I'll throw this in there because I think I don't remember if it was the last episode or two episodes ago. We interviewed with Gant AI. What was his name?
Chirag.
Parag. And I
Chirag.
Chirag.
Sony.
And we Sony, that's right, like the company Sony. And he was doing I went to his vision day, he pulled all 45 people out of the field in the business and into a room for 2 hours. You'd think it's not worth doing that. He would argue the exact opposite. It's one of the most valuable things he does, even though it cost him money. And he was doing what we usually call a traffic light report: reds, yellows, greens. We should do that as one of our episodes. Maybe on episode 50, we'll do a green, yellow, red traffic light report of the Dickie and Donnie show. But his yellow, it was AI. AI was a yellow. So greens are we're humming on all speeds. Red is,
Mhm.
hey, we need to address this. Yellow is we just need to be aware. We don't have to do anything with it yet, but if it continues, it could be a red, but with some fixing, it could be a green. So yellows are not a mayday, mayday. And yellow is AI. And he just basically said, hey, we're a big home building company. There's a lot of AI options. They're really confusing. We don't know where we're going. He said, but the reason it's not a green is because we're not leveraging it to its fullest extent. The reason it's not as a red, and he pointed at me, he goes, because that guy's 10 steps ahead of us. Because we hired that company and they're staying ahead of us, and I know they're not going to let it become a red, which was kind of cool to hear. So if you feel like that's just one of the things we offer, does that fall into the people, purpose, process, profit account? No, it probably doesn't. But does that fall under
The
like
process that falls into the
coaching? Yeah,
process side.
coaching and advisory, becoming like kind of fractional officers? And yeah, it absolutely does. So if you're a business owner and you're looking for evaluation, D&D, help me sell my business, yo, we'll get you 47,
47% off. 47%.
53% off, 47.
53% off. 47% cost. Yeah, I was doing a workshop a couple of months ago, had about 20 business owners in there. And there was a guy there that had recently sold his business and they had built processes. They had built business architecture. They had job roles and scorecards, and they had whole systems. And he said they got two more multiples than they would have expected because the business was so well built out. And I was talking about our operating system and how we implement it. And he said, this is a plug. We just did this last year to sell this services business. I forget what exactly they did, but he said it was amazing to see how much easier it was to sell because the business was clear. And I loved
Yeah.
that. It was really
I
cool.
always try to put myself in the eye of the buyer. And if I'm like, man, we talk about our master process roadmap and we kind of say this a lot like, hey, you can run my business by noon tomorrow. And it's like that.
Mhm.
Someone looking to buy your business wants that. They want hey, here's how we've gotten every lead for the last however long. Here's how we run our product. You can do it all for me and you don't even need me there. It works. So if you want more info, businessonpurpose.com/contact, where there's a contact form there. We also haven't plugged this in a while. If you're wondering if you're listening to these and you're feeling really encouraged or really discouraged, I would encourage you to take businessonpurpose.com/healthy. It's our healthy business owner assessment. It'll take you 5 to 7 minutes to get a good range of kind of how healthy you are. In the notes, just put Dickie and Donny show. That way, Dickie or I are the ones that follow up with you if you do that, because we'd love to follow up. We exist to liberate business owners from chaos, and it's cool. I got to see 4 different owners last week, and it's cool to watch some of the fruits of that liberation in their lives as you meet their family and all those things. So it's pretty cool.
I love that. I had a new client start last week, and he had called a couple of our references, actually one of your references, one of my references, and he said, "Here's what I was so impressed with what you guys do." And I was like, "Oh, I'm all ears. Tell me." He said, "These businesses were in business for 10 or 20 years. They weren't in total chaos per se. They had a business that was running, and they both said, 'I can't believe how much progress we've made in the last year. I had no idea there was so much work and development we could do that's got our business in a totally another level.'" And I was like, I was so encouraged because one of these clients I found was a random call. We were on a Builder Trend podcast, called me. I don't know how I got connected to them, and it was like a total cold call. And they are doing everything, crossing their T's, dot their I's, crushing their business. And I was so encouraged, and it was so cool to see. Like they had a business that was doing fine, but now that they've implemented some really simple, low-hanging fruit processes, job roles, team meetings, bank accounts, all of the basics, what we call basics of running a business, they're thriving and they're doing so much better than they could have been. So it's pretty cool to
Awesome.
hear that.
That
Yeah.
is cool. That is. And I'm thankful that one of my guys said the same. That's always good to hear. So I love it.
Well, Donnie, great to see you as always.
Dickie, it's
And
even better to be
we've
seen
got
by you.
a couple hours of meetings to run into here. So let's go wreck some chaos. You know me, I'm the tornado, the destroyer to come into these meetings. Poor
True.
Thomas is like, God, this guy will not get off this meeting soon
You're like
enough.
a crew of in-laws. Like there is no bracing.
A motley crew?
Just a crew of in-laws,
It's
man,
a
not
crew of
outlaws.
in-laws. I
I'm
do
thinking
feel
of
like a stepchild sometimes in this
thinking of
community.
like a crew of 3 ants that come in, all sisters, and they have their way of life, and there's nothing your house can do to prepare for their way of life. They don't come assimilate. They are them. You are like that to a meeting where it's like, oh, Dickie's
So
here.
I hear that what I hear is I have the force of three different women coming at the meeting at the same time. Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, when I was in Texas, one of my guys I worked with who was over me was like, "Hey, I want to take you to get tacos on Tuesday." I said, "Okay." We walk in, it's a trailer. I mean, a beat up trailer. And he goes, I said, "Is this where we're eating?" And he said, "Let me tell you this." He used my government name. I'll replace it with Donnie for the sake of this conversation. Listen here, Donnie. When you get three 500 plus weighted women of the Hispanic heritage behind a bar, crazy things happen. And they were the best tacos I've ever had. And he's like, "I'm telling you, it doesn't matter where they're at, what they're doing. You get he was just three 500-pound Hispanic women behind a
Oh
line
my
of food,
gosh.
and crazy things happen. And you know what? It was magic. I mean, they were making food dance in my mouth. That was I've never seen before.
We
So
have a little trailer truck like that. I was picking up my daughter from gymnastics months ago, probably a year ago, and I was like, I've heard about that spot, and it's in like a there's strip malls everywhere, and there's just some random little gravel parking lot, and I was like, let's go get that. Oh my gosh, those
so
tacos were fire. They were
yeah, we
incredible. Like
have
the
we have a couple here
pastor
in
and the
Grafton that are
oh,
just so good,
God,
so
love some tacos.
so good.
Hmm.
All right, Dickie.
What's for lunch? I need to eat.
Really? I had
No,
tacos for dinner last night and for dinner Saturday night.
let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Hey, y'all, let's talk about it. You know
All
that means
right.
drink some tacos. All right.
Oh, next week we're doing the 10 truths of conflict, right?
Okay.
We just trained on that today. I sent that to some clients and I thought it was really great dealing with conflict, and I thought that could be a great conversation.
Should we do a Dickie and Donny March Madness?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do what does that mean?
What? You were all in,
What
and
is
then what does that mean? Threw me
what
off.
I just was in. I was so in. I just don't know what you mean by that, but I
Well,
was
we
ready
could
to
create
go.
like there's a specific Dickie and Donny bracket, and it's March Madness, and it's just standard with the bracket, but it's Dickie and Donny.
So we're gonna pick
I don't know
teams.
if we can because these don't come out till Friday, and we'd have to have it in by Wednesday. So I don't know if it's worth doing it.
I just thought you wanted to do some madness. Like, so that would be like Dickie and Donnie March Madness, and we just pick some random topics to talk about in chaos.
Let's do
Uh,
it. Yeah, we'll have some. Can you think of one now? Like, think of 16 versus a 1 seed. Give me like a 7 seed versus a 9 seed right now, or it would be a 7 seed versus a 10 seed right now of just items, and we'll see which one would win in our bracket.
Oh, I don't even know.
I would say K cup for speed or waiting in line for drip coffee.
Oh,
Which one would you take?
oh, drip cup. K cups. I mean, I might as well drink throw up.
I agree. So we both choose what I would argue is a 7 seed. Okay, great.
17.
We'll have some more next week. We'll play. Maybe we could each bring 10 and we'll just run through them.
Okay. Fair enough. Dickie and Donny March Madness next week. Conflict in 2 weeks. Y'all have a great week and see you soon. Peace.